We're talking to the CEO, Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board, KYEB. Edward Marcy is a friend of mine. He's a media veteran from the newspapers and different publications all over the place. I've known him for a while. Karibu sana CEO.
Asante sana.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very okay.
Very good.
Wanandolo.
Asante.
Yes.
Good to see you.
And welcome to
while.
Kenya Yearbook Editorial
Thank you,
Board.
sir, very much.
Yes, we are a publishing house.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
A lot of Kenyans might not know what the Kenya Yearbook is. Many of them might just imagine the Kenya Yearbook is a book, a publication. I think the Kenya Yearbook began under President Kibaki. I've seen a picture on my way in here, and I have some fond memories from those days. Tell us about this organization.
Yes.
Tell us about the Kenya Yearbook, and then tell us specifically what the editorial board for the Kenya Yearbook does.
Yes, thank you very much, Bonandolo.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Edward Mwasi, as you said it.
Yes.
I'm a veteran.
Yes.
I'm a publishing expert.
Yes.
I've been publishing for almost a quarter of a century.
25 years.
Or playing a role in publishing houses.
Yes.
Before joining the Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board, I worked with the Nation Media Group. I was the head of design.
Yes.
And of course, a pioneer of graphics in the country and the region so far, where my role was very clear. Interpretation of editorial content to graphics for visual purposes and communication. So, coming back to the Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board. Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board, as the name goes, Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board is a state corporation under the Ministry of ICT, Innovations, and Youth Affairs.
So you're under Joe Musheru?
We are under Joe Musheru,
Okay.
our CS.
Yes.
And Kenya Yearbook was established back in 2007,
Okay.
but operationalized in 2009
Oh, I see.
through a presidential order.
Okay.
So Kenya Yearbook plays a very major and very important role in Kenya in the sense that it communicates to Mwananchi. We have so many establishments in the country, like in the ministries, government, that is, who publish publications, very interesting and very good publications.
True.
But again, as it were, you really need to look at the audience that you're addressing.
True.
Kenya Yearbook addresses a wider audience,
Right.
as opposed to addressing a certain discipline. We have publications, and publications, some of them are based on researches, or what they do is researching. That content is very crucial.
Yes.
So every other institution, based on what they do, you would see them produce content in their line.
Yes.
Today, for example, the judiciary will give you content of the judiciary in Kenya.
Yes.
And every other institution that falls under the judiciary.
Yes.
Like correctional services,
Correct.
all that.
Correct.
Now, again, we look at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics with the economic survey.
KNBS.
Yes, a very resourceful publication.
Yes.
Kenya Yearbook plays a major role because we look at all this content and break it down for Mwananchi. Content inside there is good. How do you build knowledge? You build knowledge the way you build a house.
Yes.
And every other institution comes in as a brick that builds up the house.
Yes.
The most important thing there is to understand how you play around with that material and you come up with a structure. Just like any other design process or any other publishing, serious publishing institution would want to look at content. You identify the right content that you combine with the other and come up with that.
Yeah.
So Kenya Yearbook does not work independent. It does not work on its own.
Yeah.
It acts as a purveyor of content from MDS, that is ministries,
departments
and agencies
Correct.
in the country.
Correct.
That's how synergy now comes in government. So Kenya Yearbook comes in as this body, as an umbrella that gets all this content, processes it through what we call, we have concepts that we develop to address certain needs. And for us to move forward, bringing together the content, we work very closely with some consultants that we work with.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't bring all the consultants from inside. As you know very well, projects in government or in any other institution are not just internal. They are external. You are serving the Kenyans outside there.
True.
You bring a diverse range of experts who look at this content. No, even before they look at the content, they come with you, you discuss, you come up with very strong concepts that will address certain needs in government. So let me come back to the Kenya Yearbook itself as a publication. Initially, we were supposed to produce the yearbook.
Yes.
But through the mandate, we broke it down and interpreted that mandate now to come up with what we call sector-specific publications. The yearbook looks at the year in review, the whole year. But sector-specific publications look at sectors.
Yes.
We have very rich sectors in the country.
True.
Today, for example, when you're talking about the Big Four agenda, you have agriculture as a sector.
Correct.
Towards food security is a
Correct.
publication that we'll be launching very soon.
Okay.
Or we are going to launch tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we also have universal health coverage.
Okay.
We also have manufacturing on the Big Four agenda.
Of course.
And the other one is
there's manufacturing.
Housing.
Then, what you call low-cost housing.
Low-cost housing,
Correct.
affordable housing. They call it affordable housing.
Correct.
So now, when you look at those, as an institution in publishing, because there is a difference between publishing and documenting, just documenting for the sake of it, or preparing reports. You know, that's what most institutions do.
Yeah, they just do reports.
They just prepare reports
and file them,
which are supposed to be for internal consumption.
Yeah.
And they bring them outside there with the hope that Mwananchi will understand.
Yes.
But then reports are supposed to be serving certain needs.
Correct.
I'm not saying that they're bad.
And sometimes they're too complex.
Sometimes they're too complex. But again, they also serve a very, very important role.
Yeah.
Because like us, we rely on so much on those reports to understand what is happening in every sector. We bring it out, we break it down, so that now we digest it, we break it down to a point whereby when you look at the content, you actually see your answer. Because today, just imagine this. You go to Wanjiko at home and tell them about certain events, and you give them figures.
It's just figures.
They're just figures. But now it's the role of Kenya Yearbook to sit down, look at those figures, and see what figures to give Wanjiko, if they are useful. But again, we go a step further. How are you going to take advantage of the figures?
Yes.
So our business is to break down the data in a way that
chewable, simple material,
palatable
for Wanjiko.
Yeah, we call it palatable.
Exactly.
Something that you can take in
and
answer those questions.
Yes.
The book we are doing on
food security.
Towards food security.
Yes.
Is a very interesting publication in the sense that we've looked at a perspective of agriculture. You know, agriculture is very wide. If today we were to just write a book, agriculture, we'll have very major volumes of that publication. But again, you have to identify what is fashionable, what is trendy, and what is valuable today to address the immediate needs. That's how Kenya Yearbook comes in. So now we, in this edition, the edition that is coming out, we've identified technology. We are tying technology with agriculture. We are looking at ICT and innovations going into agriculture, just like any other business. If you don't employ innovations into it, you just be doing the job for the sake of it.
True.
And then in business, we also have what we call business models. Especially today, now that we're in this, I don't know whether they should call it era, these times of COVID.
This new normal of COVID.
The new normal.
Some
people call it the new abnormal. But it's a new normal. Because the world is headed in that direction.
True.
Today, if you don't employ what we call, what is referred to as the correct model, you'll be in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely.
Because that one looks at what is applicable, what will really give you the results that you need.
When you were at, you talked about your time at the Nation Media Group. One of the things that jumps out me, CEO, is the editorial cartoon. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And in fact, I believe you were there at the time of Gado.
Yes, I was there.
Who has now gone to the Standard.
Yes.
Was part of your job, when you talk about pictorial, designs and what have you, did you have to work with the cartoon people as well? In other words, for many who might not understand communications, the cartoon might seem like just a simple thing, but for a professional, they might understand that the editorial cartoon actually carries the weight of the story, of the headline, of the prevailing theme of the day. Tell us how you are part of making those decisions, because as I've heard it, you were part of redesigning the Nation newspaper, which that's a huge calling. That's a huge task.
Now, okay, let me just tell you something about what goes into development of those illustrations or the cartoons. Sometimes we refer to them as ideograms. Ideas put into pictorial. That's what happens. But now with Gado and every other designer, designers are artists.
Yes.
And as a designer, what you do is that you provide solutions. Solutions in the sense that if communication fails, you come up with illustrations that will break it down for somebody to understand. The satire, the graphics that go into that.
In fact, make it easy for understand even for an illiterate person.
If
They just
yes,
look at it and they get the message.
they get the message.
And the message is profound.
How that one happens,
Yeah.
it goes with your knowledge.
Yeah.
It goes with your
Level of awareness, information.
your understanding. Gado, as I would say, Gado is a very creative gentleman.
Yeah.
He belongs to that category of artists.
I think he's one of the best.
He's one of the best.
Ever.
Even Gado, even Mado,
Yeah.
they're also very good.
Yeah.
What these guys do, actually, they summarize. You know, you must be up to par with the events of the day.
Correct.
For example, for current affairs.
Correct.
You understand them very well.
Correct.
And look for the best way of presenting it and making it more interesting.
Yes.
So I would say I was never like in charge
Yes.
of editorial cartoons.
Yes.
Because that one, they used to work very closely with the editors.
Yes.
But then we used to have what we call synergies
Yes.
from within the organizations.
Yes.
Sometimes you could do something. The following day when you look at it, we could go back to him, we share. Just the same way, he would look at the graphics that I used to develop for the newspapers.
Yes.
And they do what? And come back and say, this graphic here, it looks good, but something is missing somewhere. That's one very interesting thing about a newsroom. When you work in a newsroom as a designer,
Yeah.
you also must understand the feel,
Yeah.
or you provide solutions to the editor.
Right.
The editor's bit, most of the time,
Right.
would be like they would come up with the content.
Right.
But as a designer, you
Yes.
come and look at the content and look for the best way of interpreting that, of presenting that.
Right.
Let me give you a quick example.
Right.
Have you ever asked yourself so many times why are certain photographs used alongside the content?
Right.
Some people say just to make it look good.
Yeah. It's for the
That's not-
relevance.
It's relevance, and again playing around with the psychology of the person, who will be reading that. Sometimes you have photographs, and this is a discussion I've held even with the photographers, where they say, I like this picture because it looks active.
Yes.
But sometimes it's not just the activity.
Yes.
It's the interpretation, how it complements the story.
Correct.
That's one thing that people do not understand. And then, as it is, how you crop that photograph, where your emphasis is. You may get a photograph that is quite big, cluttered with so many other activities on it. What happens in a case like that? The focus is lost. Those are the very simple psychology. Those are the simple considerations you need to look at a photograph when you're cropping it up.
A lot of CEO, a lot of our audience
Yes.
are young people, college people, others just in school,
Yes.
that watch Ebru, they are learning.
Yes.
So a lot of this show, Know Your Government, is really to train on the intricacies of government.
Yes.
The inside, the inside workings that are not necessarily easily available. You talked about how you crop a picture, how you
Yes.
present, etc.
Yes.
Because I know which era you are from,
Yes.
I must ask.
Yes.
Now, for someone like President Moi, and for you as a veteran journalist, how would you have cropped President Moi's picture and why? Considering, by the way, that he's tall, athletic looking. I'm talking about now in his prime, in the late 1980s, in the early 90s, in the late 90s,
Yes.
up to the handover, etc.
Yes.
How would you have portrayed Moi and why?
Okay, let me tell you something
Yes,
about when it comes to design, that is packaging of content,
Yes.
is a whole science. It's not how you would want it to be as your person, as yourself. It's the image you want to portray.
Yeah.
Today, if you're talking about an event that was sorrowful, annoying, and authority to come out of somebody, you know where the authority goes? Maybe in your gestures. If you're doing your hand like that, this one also creates emphasis on that illustration. If your face portrays something also, you focus on that. So your picture is between your finger, it's pointing at somebody, and the face, if that sends the message. So it does not matter how smart you're seated.
Currently, that's how they're capturing the deputy president. So this is not by accident, you're saying, yeah.
It's not by
Because-
accident.
yeah,
There is
yeah.
what we call emphasis. You're creating emphasis. How you play around with the content, how you appreciate the environment you are in terms of the design of that newspaper, and how you want to project it. That's what happens.
Okay.
So it's never an issue of what I like.
Okay.
It is the message that I'm sending outside there. And
Or
I
it's
think
the
that-
relevance of the actual headline
Yes,
of that day.
Yes.
I see.
That's exactly what we do even in our publications. Have you ever asked yourself why sometimes people crop photographs and they do what we call cutouts? Where you have an hand jumping out of the picture,
Yeah.
or you have a face coming out of the picture. You are doing that one because you are creating what we call emphasis.
Okay.
emphasis is
on the story.
On the story or on that face
Yes.
that supports the story.
Correct.
Yeah. Let me tell you, one challenge I've had with the photographers, most photographers we have in the, let me say in
the country.
Not even the country, in the
market.
region.
Yeah,
in the region today, because
yes.
I've handled.
I know
I've
other
handled
countries.
both
We'll talk
cases.
about that, yes.
I've done a bit of consultants in Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, and in Kenya.
Okay.
One big problem that that I faced, or rather that I see that still exists,
yes,
is that people do not understand their product. Photographers, some of them do not understand. We have quite a few who are very good. Because you as a photographer, and especially serving publications, every time you're doing that, you must come back and ask yourself one question. If I'm doing a photograph for a story, I need to understand the story that I'm looking at. I know a few people who are very good. There's a gentleman called Yusuf Washira. He was a veteran photographer at the Nation.
I know him.
He never used to go waste time at the event.
Yeah.
He sits down and he thinks about the photo.
Yes.
Sometimes we could sit down with him and ask ourselves very large, very big questions. Today I'm going to cover Safari Rally. That's what he comes to me and says.
Correct.
I'm going to cover Safari Rally.
Shekameta
and all that. Of course, you know the kind of photographs you're going to get from there. You're going to get a photograph of the car, maybe of the head of state flagging off the vehicles, yet they are better stories. I remember one time he went there and he came back very quickly, and I told him, then we were asking the gentleman in the office, umemaliza mapema na Safari Rally inaisha mchana, the flagging off of the Safari Rally. What he said, but you know, these other photographs are very common. Everybody is going to come up with that photograph. Correct. He just went behind, he stood on a hill like this. There was a parent there holding a child on the shoulders, just carrying them on the shoulders. He got that photograph from there, the child on the shoulders, and the vehicle on the other side, and on the car. Then he said he's got a photograph. Ameshamaliza kazi yake. Now everybody came up with photographs, and especially now in this era of
social media,
not even social media, digital smartphones, where you have thousands of photographs that you can take. Some people don't focus on what they really want. They don't carry the story with them. What they do is that they know, hapo nitaenda nibahatishe, get all these photographs and bring them back.
Exactly.
Now it will be the role of the editor or whatever to select that.
Exactly.
We don't encourage that. First and foremost, love what you do.
Have the passion.
Have the passion.
Be innovative.
And be creative.
Creativity
is what you need. If you understand your subject, before you go outside there to take the photographs, or before you go there to supply something to somebody else, you must understand that. Let me come back to our business of publishing. Where publishing, as you know very well, publishing, you can publish because you just want to keep records. But you can also publish because you want to build a narrative. In Kenya, we need a narrative.
True.
We need to inspire generations.
True.
We need to push them so that they can also push themselves.
We need leadership.
But you don't go screaming at them that do this, do that. No, you play around with psychology. That's what publishing is all about.
You inspire.
You inspire. Today, if you're talking about a theme of any event, let me not mention, let me just call it a theme of any event. If this time we are talking about social cohesion in a country, I think the best address you'll ever give them is when you understand them, you understand mwananchi.
Correct.
Then you address it from their point of view.
Correct.
The message you will be sending to that Wanjiko in the village and that person in the city are not exactly the same. The approach will not be exactly the same. You must understand the psychology. In my industry, in my field of, or rather in my consultancy and working very close in the publishing industry, one thing that I learned, when you publish something, you must be one person who believes in research and findings. Before you today, you go, let's say, for example, to Somalia, or you go to Sudan, or you go to Uganda and start designing a newspaper for them. You must understand the people you're dealing with.
The culture.
And how they project their content.
Correct.
Today, there are words you can use in Kenya comfortably, in English.
Right.
You take them to Uganda, they'll tell you that's not our way of communication. It doesn't come out well.
True.
I'm reminded of a publication I used to see in Uganda called Full Woman.
Yeah.
You know, there's a direct translation from vernacular.
Yeah.
Of a total lady.
Yeah.
You know, a Ugandan lady.
Correct.
Use that full woman in Kenya. You'll be told full woman does not work in Kenya.
By feminists.
So you must understand that. That's how you project it.
Yes.
If you're producing a publication today for, I'm sorry, I know you come from Ukambani.
Yes.
They would want to see so many colors. They believe in colors, yellows, oranges. That's one thing that I discovered.
Where is my orange and where is my yellow?
No. Your projection is different. Your bringing is different. You brought up in the city.
I agree.
So they'll tell you that if I don't see yellow, because I've also worked with the editors who come from that region, when they were just starting to interact with the designers, you could see very well a trigger or a request that drop some yellow there, drop some. I'm not trying to, with all due respect to the community. It's not a problem.
You're not trying to stereotype. You're just,
I'm not trying to stereotype. Today, again, maybe if we went to the Maasai, they'll tell you, I think if you brought in some brown kidogo like this, and red, because that's what your mind has been tuned to think.
Correct.
But again, as it were, research is very critical in everything that you do.
Exactly.
If you decide today you're going to do something, make sure you understand what you're dealing with.
We'll still come back to the Moi question so that you can, we'll take a small break and come back to that so you can tell me again how, as an editor, as a publisher, you would want to frame the second president, regardless of the story, considering he always carried an ivory, staff of sorts, considering he's a tall guy, very mobile, the former late president. And I'll tell you again why I would insist on that particular analysis. On Know Your Government today, we're talking to CEO Edward Mwasi, Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board. We're taking a small break, pay some bills, make a little money, and come back in a little bit and talk to you. We're back on KYG, Know Your Government, with the CEO, Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board. Mr. Mwasi, Edward, is our host today, and he's telling us a little more about the yearbook, which is not such a simple thing. People think a yearbook is just a book. Bwana Mwasi, you come to government with a lot of experience from the private sector. A lot of experience in media, in journalism, in reportage, in publishing, in editorializing, in management. Tell us about what the government is doing in terms of pushing efficiency, in terms of promoting effectiveness, in terms of mergers, and specifically what you're doing to make a difference within government, because as CEO here, you're a leader, you're bringing up an organization that not so many know about. Now, many more, especially through this show, will know about this. Tell us about all these different things. Just feel free, talk to us in a very easy fashion. It's an easy interview, no real tough questions. Yeah. Just more philosophical maybe, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Ndolo.
Yes.
And I need to explain exactly what Kenya Yearbook is. You know, first and foremost, Kenya Yearbook is we have a flagship called
It's
a flagship called Kenya Yearbook.
Yes.
And as I mentioned earlier, it's broken down into sector-specific publication.
Yes.
The experience I've had, and with how we work with our stakeholders, our contributors, our editors, writers, and all that, and the MDAs that we work with very closely, there's always been need to have synergies. Synergies is very critical because our content comes from all those institutions. And what we've been able to achieve is the fact that we work with almost every other department, every other agency in government. Because number one, you must be trusted.
Correct.
You must have a reputation in terms of how you package content.
Correct.
And you need to work with them very closely.
And you must be objective.
Yes, you must be very objective.
Okay.
One other thing that has never come out very clear, you know, in government, when you're in government and you use content from another government institution, that's not plagiarism. No, that's not plagiarism. You can't plagiarize yourself as government.
Exactly.
You are actually serving the same government. And your communication must be working very closely.
Yes.
So what, as an institution, we've been
Are you allowed to edit it when you get the content from Ministry of Agriculture, for example?
Editing is no problem. It depends on how you how you edit that content.
Okay.
Because what sometimes Kenya Yearbook does, it condenses the content and make it smaller and even juicier.
Exactly.
That's why you have experts within the organization. You have a technical team, a very able technical team.
Yeah, I've seen some
led by an editorial manager.
Okay.
Somebody with a lot of experience.
Okay.
Like our editor, our current editor is somebody who's been handling business for a very long time.
Their name?
It's called Peter Okongo.
Okay.
Peter Okongo is used to handle content
Yeah.
in business.
I've heard his name.
Yeah,
Yes.
from the Standard and,
Yes.
and also to the Nation.
Exactly.
No, from Nation to the Standard.
Exactly.
He's somebody with a wealth of experience
Okay.
in that area.
Okay.
You realize that today a driver also is business, away from technology. Technology also addresses business.
Okay.
When you have somebody who understands that, it becomes easier for you to break it down.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
we are never complete without the social part of it, of us.
Correct.
Look at the pillars very comfortably. We must, for you even to be complete, you don't just lock yourself on one direction. You must be a
You must be
holistic
diverse.
person.
Yeah.
You must be diverse, bring it out.
I agree.
But again, that driving force is very good because you're looking at the business. You know the challenges we have at the moment
Yes.
in terms of employment.
Yes.
Even publications that we'll be working on.
Yes.
There is one we're talking about technology, the youth and the future of work. The future is already here. This conversation we started last year before COVID came on board.
Yes.
We were also talking about how best we can tap into the best brains outside there, experts who are outside there, because you can't bring all those experts within the organization. As I mentioned, Yearbook, the publication Yearbook, our flagship, runs across all sectors of the economy,
Yeah.
which is not one, which
Yeah.
is not two.
True.
So if there are 20,
Yeah.
will you bring all those experts into an organization?
No.
This is a model that we've adopted that is very good for the organization. Number one, you take care of what we call idle time. If you don't produce publications every day, in fact, even in newspapers that produce publications every day, 70%, very close to 70% are freelancers. And they're all Kenyans. They're outside there.
They don't have to be full-time in
They
the
don't have to
organization.
be full-time inside
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
This situation is even being proved
Yeah.
that you can still do that.
Yeah.
And you need even to embrace more of that. And especially with this idea of working from home.
Yes.
When you're working from home, nobody stands behind you.
Yes.
You have to look for ways of quantifying the amount of work that you're getting.
Yeah.
If you are able to quantify that
And deliver.
and it's
Yeah.
delivered in good time,
Yes.
what business do you have of creating and building empires around yourself, having people sitting there and you're counting people, and you think that's when you're performing?
No.
Performance is all built in the passion and the models that you put in place. If there are performance models that you have in place, documents, not even documents really, but your tools of
Yeah.
trade
Yeah.
that ensure that this person does the piecework.
Yeah.
You can call it piecework. You are paid per that piecework. Everybody will perform. And then it's a very good model in the sense that the youth today can work from their garage at home, for those who have vehicles. You can work from your bedroom. I know of so many publications that are launched around, that are done around in that way. We are the same institution that produces MyGov for government. You know the
Yes,
book,
of course.
the
Yes.
newspaper that carries
Yes.
advertisements.
Yes.
Did you know that it doesn't have an office called MyGov? It
It's
has
virtual.
a virtual office.
Yeah.
This one has been on for 3 years now.
Yes.
And we still deliver. It has never failed to come out. All you need to know as an organization like this one here, the technical team vets the best people. And again, you come up with such contracts that if this person does not perform, you don't have to take them through a very long process of how to lay them off, how to do that. If you're not performing, you're not performing.
Exactly.
You'll be replaced immediately, and you continue moving. We'll look for another Kenyan to benefit from the same. I know this is a very hard debate, and especially when you're dealing with
Because of the need for jobs.
need for jobs. Can I tell you something? Thank you very much to have come to that point.
That one is always
Let me tell
on
you.
my mind, top
let me tell you
of
something.
mind. Yeah.
There is a lot of misinterpretation of government creating jobs.
Yeah.
You think they create offices.
Yeah.
That's not a good way of looking at creation
Jobs
of
is not offices.
It's not offices.
Jobs is work.
Job is work. You create an environment where all these businesses will thrive.
Correct.
You empower. That's what we do as an institution. We produce publications that empower people, entrepreneurs, that empower people, young people who want to start doing their business. If we empower them, you empower one person who reads through our publication, like the book we are launching tomorrow on towards food security.
Yes.
That's the title we've given it.
Yes.
But when you go inside there, you'll see innovations in agriculture and technologies that come with it. One very critical thing that you need to understand, and I think everybody needs to understand that today, and I think I'm talking to Kenyans.
You are.
When government tells you that government has created jobs, it's not necessarily offices.
Okay.
If I empower Ndolo here today with information,
Yes.
I give you the correct infrastructure to do your business.
That's
I
a
give you
job.
energy, power.
Yes.
That is
Cheaper.
now power.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Affordable. Or I
Yeah.
give you alternatives,
Yeah.
like solar.
Yeah.
Government does all the time.
Yeah.
We
We're
have
talking
the
to Ketraco
windmills.
about that just the other day.
Yes.
The importance of
Yes.
cheaper energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I give you that information, I also give you education, because Kenya Book's role is to to come up with this knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge data.
Information is power.
Information is power.
And it's in books.
If I give you that one, government will do whatever it's supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Give you the infrastructure, which is already doing and doing very well. Energy, all that. There is so much that is happening around in the country today. About manufacturing, for example, if I gave you the market, you know the value chain in manufacturing starts from the market. If I give you the market, I do not even have to give you the funds to go look for, to go start supplying that market. You remember what happened with the quills that came the other day?
Yeah.
Everybody started that business. Yeah. Did government have to give them money?
No.
It did not have to give them money. It gave them the ideas. That's the role of Kenya Yearbook. You do publication, you tell them this is where business is. Pick it, go for it.
In other words, resources can follow ideas.
Yes.
I see.
So when we talk as government, we say we're creating jobs.
Yeah.
It's not the office job alone.
Yeah.
That environment, we're giving you information.
Yeah.
We are giving you opportunities. You're being given opportunities of what you could really embrace and move forward. That is a job I've given you. And I think those are even better jobs because you are your own boss.
Correct.
You define what you're going to earn at the end of the day.
And you're not trapped in this small, confined space.
Yes.
Tethered to your neck.
Tethered to your neck.
In other words, for the youth, if you're hearing the boss correctly, read these books, get ideas, get something moving to do out of these.
Yes.
And a good idea will always get funding.
Yes.
CEO, you have a big football sitting behind you, signed by very many guys. I haven't signed that. Tell us what initiative that is. What is the significance of that soccer ball?
Okay, let me tell you what happened is that, as I'd mentioned earlier, we do sector-specific publications.
Yes.
That now address or break down some of the chapters that we have in the book, the yearbook itself.
Yes.
We have a chapter on a section on sports. But again, that sports that we carry in the yearbook, for example, it's just based on the year. But for us to be more informative and address the youth, for example, or address Kenyans, sometimes we get out of our yearbook, which is our flagship, and come up with sector-specific publication. This one was the publication that we partnered with one of the veteran journalists called Roy Kashui, who's been in the field for almost 40 years with a lot of knowledge. The book came out during the World Cup. The World Cup, and again, that was the best time for us to reflect where did the rain start beating us as a country. So, coming back to the ball, this one was a centerpiece during the launch of this publication, because this is just a publication.
Oh, I see.
Now, when you're launching the book, you also need, psychological, even from the marketing point of view, you need a centerpiece or an event to relate to that. Just like any another publication we did on women's trailblazers.
Yes.
The book had to be launched during the International Women's Day. That was the 8th, was it 8th of March?
Yes.
We did that one around there, so that now the conversation is built around that. So the conversation about this football, which is also good information, and is a publication that also promotes what we call social cohesion. You've seen what sports does.
Of course, it brings people together.
It brings people together.
Keeps the youth busy.
That's the time when you forget that KIP comes from Rift Valley.
Correct.
Everybody moves there.
Yes.
When Gor Mahia and all these other teams like AFC Leopards
produce
Harambee Stars, and you see it in the field. Does it mean that it's one region of this country that attends to that?
No, you just feel it's Kenya first.
Yes,
absolutely.
So that's the role of this publication. We realize that some of these tools, let's call them tools, or vehicles, really help in our conversations. So this one here builds social cohesion among the people. We had a publication when everybody is brought together. That is the role of communication, and that's the role of publishing, where you need to move very closer. You need to touch the pulse of every Mwananchi, understand what is this that we really need to communicate. If it's a narrative that we need to shape in whatever way, let's shape it. It's not a podium that will change Kenyans. A podium speech, in fact, if anything, politics are politics. And you get varied ideas.
And opinions.
There are people who are killing good ideas. You know that?
Yes, of
Very
course.
good ideas.
Yes.
When you want to create employment, for example, why should you kill that idea? When somebody is doing that, just because you're opposed
to that person,
you want to kill it. No, that one does not. In fact, sometimes I would really want to see an environment where sometimes even your opponent comes up with a story and you think it's good.
Yeah, that's
you don't go there and start saying moving to the opposite side.
There's an English expression where they say cutting your nose to spite your face.
Yes.
Tell me, without going into details, CEO, what else soccer in Kenya? Without going into too much detail and too much politics. Because clearly we have a problem. You talked about when the rain started beating us.
Yes.
Just in summary form, what ails soccer in Kenya? I mean, even right now, I don't know where we are, honestly. Yes. I'm not such a big fan, but I think we're past elections. I think there were so many issues during the time of Nyamwea. And you know, the viewers, Kenyans have a lot of passion for soccer. But if you notice, and we talked about this last week on a different show,
yes,
the passion for soccer is channeled more to the European League. And most of them have never been to Europe. So you just wonder, what kind of peculiar stuff is this?
Yes.
What ails our soccer?
Okay, you know, I'm not the best to comment on that.
Yeah.
If you read through this book, you'll see some of those. But anyway, let me just give you...
Oh, it's there in the book?
Yeah, we have all that in the book. Because sometimes you don't have to tell people directly that this is what ails. But we'll give you examples on how things have been happening.
Yes.
There are those leaders who pushed it. Yeah. And it really moved. I'm talking about leaders in the sports fraternity.
Correct.
They are very well explained there.
Correct.
There are some who could have done the opposite. But again, as it were, every person's contribution in a certain industry really plays a good role, because you learn even from the wrong. Can I tell you something else? We've always assumed that your mentor has to be positive in all ways. Did you know that your mentor could also be the negative? Did you know that? You learn from their negatives
exactly
to
and
go to the positive.
Can't, yeah.
But isn't that mentoring?
Yeah.
You learn from the negatives.
You learn from their mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, I think the misinterpretation of mentorship is when that everything that person does is correct.
Actually, you have a good point, because I worked for a senior politician for some years, and I can honestly tell you that I learned a lot of the mistakes we make at the national level.
Yes.
You know, the overemphasizing on tribe. The politics of patronage,
yes,
how corruption really, and also CEO, how it becomes so futile in a sense that a society or a country is reduced to being, the word I was looking for is cynical. That it can only be this way, that this is the portion for Africa. You know, this, I think I see, I'm sure you see a lot of that in the social media, where people are also preaching the gospel of sasa tufanye nini, bora uhai, we've given up, politics is bad, it can't work, the vote doesn't count, you know, you can't find, you know, clean leadership, etc., etc. So you're right in the sense that without just the positive aspect of it, you can really also, by observing, learn the negatives, and then bypass the same. CEO,
and still that one becomes mentorship.
And that is actually valuable
lessons to learn from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
As we move towards wrapping up, just tell us a little bit about what you've done in Tanzania, and maybe some of the differences you've seen in Tanzania. You know, we are under the East African Community.
Yes.
Tanzania are our brothers to, is it the South? And we're really just next door neighbors. Sometimes we see a lot of issues, you know, not loudly, but the issues are there. Tell us what you did in Tanzania, lessons for us to learn there. And then finally, I will have to ask you, 2020, I wonder what you're going to write in the yearbook. This has been like the weirdest year. Tell us.
Okay, first and foremost, I don't know whether you want me to make a political statement. I can't make a political statement.
I'm trying to make it easy for you. Yes, exactly.
I'll make a publisher statement.
Yeah.
And the role I've played, or we've played with, you know, of course, it cannot be I all the time.
Well, but you're the leader.
You work with your team.
With the team, yes.
Yes. Now, that one, whatever you're talking about, Tanzania.
Yes.
That one was not based with what I do as a Kenya Yearbook. That was something else when I was in a totally different environment.
Yeah, but you see, that's what has built you up to this position.
Yes, that's what has built me up to this.
Yes.
What I learned is that it's good sometimes you learn people's cultures and the environment that they work in.
Okay.
One thing that is so clear, and I think it happens even in the country today, you have two publications, for example, Kiswahili and English.
Yes.
For quite some time, we were not embracing Kiswahili. I think you get that.
True.
And
until the new constitution, 2010.
Until the new constitution, in as much as it's one of the languages that people learn in school and they pass very well. They even get A's, but after some time they struggle to speak in Kiswahili.
Yeah.
So, diverse culture is very important. When you go to that environment, you know you're talking to a totally different environment. And that environment is different from ours. There are commonalities.
Yes.
There are divergences.
There are divergences, yes.
Those ones are there.
Yeah.
And you know very well they come from vijiji za ujamaa.
Yeah.
Some people are very close.
Yes.
But again, if you can embrace the hybrid,
yeah.
You know the definition of Kenyans? They define Kenyans as people who are very hardworking, very aggressive.
Which is good.
Which is true.
Yeah. Selfish?
It's good. But if you can balance the two, because there's a quality, again, also the closeness of the people there that really works for them. If only they can get something from Kenya.
Yes. And we can get something from them.
We can get something from them.
Exactly.
You produce what you call a hybrid.
Exactly.
Then you'll be somewhere. Absolutely. But again, as it were, some of these things take time.
Yes.
That's now how publishing comes in.
Yes.
To shape the conversations. Our publications shape the conversations. When you do a publication on social cohesion, we will not just be looking at data alone. We'll be looking at how they are communicated to, the environment in which they grew, and what kind of people they are.
The
but I can
foundation
tell you
and
something for free about our country. We have very good people and we have a very lovely country. You wait until you go outside there. I'm not doing any PR for my country because I work for government. It's very clear that Kenyans, when they like an idea, they fly with it.
Yeah.
How long did it take the mobile phones to circulate in Kenya?
No time at all.
It started and it moved. Everybody embraced it because they felt like this is something.
Like wildfire, yes.
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 You saw what happened to the M-Pesa?
Yes.
We have very creative minds in Kenya.
Yeah.
When it came through like this, now we have everything, every facility to go with that. Innovation moves very quickly. For as long as people are communicated to properly and they feel like this is something we need to work with. The same thing, when Kenyans disagree with something, you'll know that they've disagreed with it. That's not a bad quality.
It's not.
But again,
that clarity.
When they agree to something,
you'll know they've agreed.
They've agreed and they'll move forward.
Exactly.
That is a quality that I think we have as a country.
Yes.
But there are places where transformation takes forever to change.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Kenya,
rigidity,
with the proper communication, with a proper narrative, maybe through the publications that we do, we would be able to shape the country we want. Okay. And it's already there.
Next time we come, we'll ask you about the problematic issue of corruption, because you've talked about the attributes of Kenyans, their hardworkingness, their resilience. Next time we come, we'll ask you about corruption, which is a vast topic and has been a big frustration for His Excellency the President. CEO, this is your camera. Look into the camera and your closing remarks. Talk to Kenyans. Tell them about Kenya Yearbook and what you'd like them to do. In fact, tell them about what you're doing tomorrow with the Ministry of Agriculture on towards food security. That's your camera as we wind up.
Yes, thank you very much, Banandolo.
Yes, sir.
It's been a pleasure meeting you today.
Yes, sir.
And also, thank you for the opportunity to address Kenyans.
Anytime.
To address the world, because I'm sure your television...
Through YouTube, we go everywhere.
You go everywhere.
Absolutely.
With the technology that we have today. Tomorrow, we are launching a publication entitled Towards Food Security. This publication addresses the issue of technology, innovations, and agro-business, because you're talking about a business world. Business, I think, is what drives everything around. And this publication targets a wider generation, a wider audience, and especially the youth, most of whom are outside there. Quite a number of them have despaired. Yet, you know very well that agriculture, apart from just giving you the food that you want, is an employer. You can generate income from there. So for tomorrow, after tomorrow, I think you would be able to learn more about technology and business in this country. Thank you very much for being with us.
Nowadays, Bonasio, we don't have the handshake, so we can use...
We can use this.
This.
Yes, and that one. And then this one.
And this one, and this one.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. We'll be talking on Know Your Government to the CEO, Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board. Bwana Mwasi Edward is a warm gentleman, a professional. He says, you must understand cultural diversity. You must have cross-cultural communication in understanding your situation, different countries in working, that Kenyans are hardworking and resilient, and that there's really a lot more that can be done in the different sectors that they write about in the Kenya Yearbook. You can learn not just by getting positive example, but also by looking at the mistakes of mentors and then creating your own pathway. If you have a good idea, the resources follow the idea. We've really had a good time talking to him. We'll be back next week with a different guest. Thanks for watching on Know Your Government. I'm Benji Ndolo. Asante sana once again, sir.
Sana.
Yeah, thank you for... Ndio hiyo.
Yes.
Na hiyo ingine.
Lakini sasa tukizungumza kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, wa Kenya watuelewe.
Next time we will.
Next time we'll.
Tume overlook hiyo kidogo, but tutarudi. Yeah. Asante sana.
Yeah, asante sana.
Thank you very much. Asante.